Welcome back. We are here in the heart of industrial Sheffield to visit Thomas Flynn & Co., which is a saw manufacturer that has been making fine saws for over 100 years. This is going to be another day of seeing some bloody beautiful British manufacturing. You know we love to see it. Ow! That's the third time. How are you?
Yeah, good. Are you?
I'm doing very well. Chris, thank you very much for having us.
No, it's a pleasure.
I'm just so excited to see how it is that you make saws. What is it that we're going to be focusing on today?
So today we're going to focus on tenon saws. We can also discuss hand saws.
How many different varieties of saws do you make?
Oh wow, what a question. It's hard to say really, because we've got that many variations in size, tooth size, different handles. We have different customers who require different things. So it runs into hundreds.
Hundreds of saws and 100+ years of making saws.
Yes.
That's pretty special. So where does it all start?
Production starts with the blade. So should we go and have a look at that first?
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
Steel all comes in its coil. As you can see here, we've got various different sizes of coil here for making all different blades.
That's a lot of steel right there.
What's there? What is there? There's 800 kilos there.
800 kilos of stock like this. And do you pick a different alloy of steel for a different type of saw?
No, we use the same for all our saws.
Are you allowed to tell us?
Use CS80, usually.
CS80, so it's 0.8% carbon, plain carbon steel.
Yeah.
Very minimal other alloying elements in it. And does it come hardened or?
Hardened and tempered, yeah.
It does come hardened and tempered. So all your work is from hardened and tempered stock?
Yeah.
Do you know what the Rockwell hardness is?
I don't know if I've got a spec sheet somewhere.
About 45 Rockwell.
So it needs to be for us to be able to sharpen it, basically.
Yeah.
So if it's too hard, we can't file sharpen it.
Okay.
Too soft.
It's gonna get dull.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, it's all your work having to be done on hardened and tempered steel.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's only 45 Rockwell, I mean, it's still pretty hard.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fascinating. What is this?
So it's a decoiler. It's just basically for handling the material with to make it safe. And we've got an air feeder down at the other end. So we use that to feed out a set length.
Because obviously, if one of these came unraveled, that would be a really bad time.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good.
It's not good if that comes undone. But
So obviously, when Thomas Flynn was making saws in 1923, the ability to kind of mechanize and automate anything would have been quite limited. And so one of the great things that you've been able to do over time is get more consistency with things like that air feeder, giving you those exact lengths that you need, and all of that just means that you can make a better product at the end of the day, right?
it just has a knock-on effect to the next process. If you get that process the best you can, the next process to that is easier, and so on and so forth down the line.
It reduces the margin of error
Yeah.
for any one particular thing, making a better thing in the end.
Yeah.
How does the air feeder work? Is there a clamp in here? There's a clamp in there that pinches it. As it retracts, it pinches it, and it then pushes it through. And so, for certain saws, you'll take them through here, shear them to length, and you're basically making blanks that are sheared to length. But for a tenon saw, a little bit different.
A little bit different.
God. I just love workshops. Look at this enormous surface grinder. You can surface grind a human in it.
So yeah, for a tenon saw or a dovetail saw, the material all starts in coil, like we discussed earlier.
But it's a lot more manageable size of coil, right?
Yeah, a lot smaller coils. This is the toothing machine. This is where we put the teeth on. So it starts off as blank steel. So if I press the button now, it'll start toothing.
Oh my goodness. I'm in love with this machine. So this coil started over here in this tray right there.
Yep.
And you've already toothed all of this, and it's just been fed onto here. Look how delicate these teeth are, Jamie. How many teeth per inch would this be?
There's 20 teeth per inch there.
How is it regulating the teeth per inch? Because presumably this machine can be set to change the teeth per inch.
It can, yes. And we do that via this gear wheel at the back here.
That is beautiful. So the spinning of the shear pushes that crank, which then pushes the gear around, and then it's the friction of these wheels, twisted by the gear, that pulls it just the right amount. So the tension of these wheels on the actual stock is presumably quite important for making sure that there's no slippage.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So that's on this spring here. So we've got a pedal where we can release the tension if we want to take blades in or out. So it's the bottom wheels that release downwards.
Okay, so it's bottom wheels pushing up
Yep.
that gets you the tension that you need.
Yep.
Outstanding. And then this is giving tension in,
Yes.
or is pushing the
Yes.
blade into the stock at the back.
Yep, that's correct.
And it's just a triangular
Triangular punch, yes.
punch. Little high-speed steel thing. Is that something that you make in-house?
No, we don't. So we have those made locally.
That is the punch and die. Beautiful. It's a beautiful bit of machinery. I absolutely love these things. Do you know how old this one is likely?
I'm guessing slightly, but it's probably between 80 and 100 years old.
I love it. Imagine how many teeth that thing has punched.
Wow, loads.
Millions,
Yeah.
presumably. Jamie, do you remember when I made my saw, the very, very bad saw? I was taking a pair of dividers and laying out where I was going to file the teeth, but there exists a beautiful machine that just punches them perfectly at the perfect teeth per inch. This is the saw in question. It's quite sad to look at compared to the beautiful Thomas Flynn Company saws. But all this to say, I have made saw teeth, and I've also climbed them. Last month, I went to France and I climbed the Dent du Géant, this enormous granite tooth. It was a really good time. And despite it being August, I was blisteringly cold. And one of the things I was amazingly shocked by is in these enormous mountain ranges in France, I had perfect 4G LTE connection on my phone, and it's thanks to something that I didn't know existed until I found out about Saily. It's a new eSIM service app. They're the sponsor of this episode, and my first concern when I heard out about it is this is going to be awfully complicated and is going to be scary to set up. It is so easy. Now, why might you use an eSIM? Well, if you're traveling to any of all this enormous list of destinations, from within the app, you can purchase an eSIM plan to get you data for that country. This means you no longer have to go waiting in lines outside the arrivals hall to buy yourself a SIM card. Fiddle with getting the SIM card out, putting a new one in, you inevitably lose the one. It's a nightmare. Because it's an eSIM, there's no taking in and outs of SIM cards. It's all happening inside the device. Like electronically somehow. I don't understand it, but despite the fact that I'm technologically challenged, it was incredibly easy to set up. So if you've got travel plans coming up, even if you don't, go to saily.com/forge, choose the 1 GB Saily data plan, enter coupon code FORGE at checkout, and you'll get that data completely free. That way, the next time you're on vacation, you won't have to be hunting around for public Wi-Fi networks because you'll be connected with the cell data that you have. You supporting them helps us out a great deal. And that's it.
That's it.
Done cutting.
Yeah.
Now you've got to wrangle this scary mess.
How long would that take to go through the whole roll?
To go through all this, it's going to take most of the working day, this.
Wow. And how many rolls do you get before you need to change cutters?
Well, it'll do a full roll.
So what machine are you loading it onto now?
This is the setting machine.
Setting.
Setting, so this provides the clearance.
Okay, so this is taking the teeth that were straight from the
Straight
shearing,
cut, yeah.
and you're moving one tooth one way, the other tooth the other way, so that you have the clearance from the rest of the steel as you're cutting through the wood.
Yeah, so the saw doesn't bind, yeah.
Alright, so you pull out just enough that it gets on the bottom guide, and then what are you adjusting now?
I'm just putting the tension onto the vice jaws here, so I'm closing the vice jaws up against the blade. So it just needs just enough tension that it still feeds.
And that ratcheting sound, is that this?
Yeah.
So that is serving a similar purpose as the one that we saw back on the tooth cutting machine.
On the gear wheel, yes.
This is indexing on the teeth that the gear wheel helped create the correct distance for. What a beautiful mechanism. So one tooth gets bent, it ratchets forward. Another tooth gets bent, it ratchets forward, all based on the rotation of that wheel right there. I love it. So this shaft, driven by the motor underneath.
The cam's on the shaft, yes.
So there is a cam rotating on the shaft that's pushing the arms around this pivot.
Yep.
And pushing the hammers against the teeth to
Yep.
set them the right way.
I'm just moving this hammer slightly this way, because it's not quite landing on the middle of the tooth.
And that bolt on the bottom, does that control the throw distance?
Yeah, that'll control the amount of set.
Is the mirror helping you see the set from side to side from underneath?
Yeah, that's correct.
You've got a torch back here as well.
Yes.
What's that for?
Some of our products get hard, the teeth get hardened. So
And it
as
just
it passes
happens as it goes
through, they just get, the torch, they pass through the torch, and the torch hardens them.
And I presume you know all these things like the back of your hand. You probably had all these things apart,
Yeah.
fixed them, made new parts for them, because you can't,
Exactly.
there's no, you can't call up the
No.
saw setting machine company for a replacement part.
There's no spares available anymore. So what we do is we have a collection of old machines that we can either take parts from, or we can replace parts, or It's mainly just bearings.
Brilliant. So you're gonna spend a whole day setting teeth on these.
Yep.
And then you end up with a big old roll with set teeth.
Yep, that's correct.
The teeth have the geometry, so to speak, that they can cut without binding on the wood.
Correct.
And then what?
Then what? Then we cut the blade to length, and then from there we sharpen it.
So you think the guillotine is no big deal. I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because look at all the other things we get to see. This is a little, effectively another little press like you've got in the rest of the
Yeah, basically
workshop.
it's a press with shears.
And my favourite part of this whole thing is your counter.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. What's the reason for tracking how many cuts you make? That actually seems really obvious in retrospect.
So, I can count them.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, if a customer orders 50 saws, I need to know that I've cut 50 blades.
That's really embarrassing. Jamie, we should definitely not include that in the video. You just sliding it up to a stop that you set on the machine?
Yeah, that's correct. So we've got an end stop here. And the other thing I do is I just trim the corners off.
There goes the angle on the end. So when you're running normal production, what would a batch size typically look like here?
On the higher end stuff, it can range from anything from 1s and 2s up to sort of 50 plus.
Oh wow.
So usually 10s is a common number for people to order in.
Okay.
So they'll have 10 of one size, 10 of another size, 10 of it.
Got it. So you'll make teeth and set teeth on a big, massive strip, and it'll kind of sit there until the order comes in, and then you'll go to cutting it to size, cutting it to length, and then making these final things.
Exactly.
Okay. At this point in time, this has deviated a little bit from how a handsaw or panel saw would be produced, because you put the teeth on and set them while it was in a coil. Yeah. If you were making the kind of the classic thing that comes in our mind of a handsaw or panel saw, how does that go different?
Well, it starts off as coil. We use the air feeder once again to cut down into blanks, and we end up with blanks like this.
And so on that same shear, you make the angles
Correct,
for the profile?
So every blank comes off like this, and we get two saws per blank.
That's very convenient.
From there, we can then make a variety of saws in different lengths, different tooth sizes, depending on what the customer orders.
And how do the teeth get put on when it's got these angles on it? Because presumably your depth stops pushing it into your teeth punching machine are not going to work as soon as it starts moving.
So it's the same kind of machine, we just have a different jig.
And the jig is parallel, or the jig can move straight. And then it's feeding on these wheels right here.
Yep, correct.
And it feeds against this surface, and it's job done. That's how you do it when it's not a parallel strip.
Exactly. So next we're going to hand sharpen the blades. We'll take the fash off the edges so they're all nice and smooth, and then we're ready for assembly.
What is a sawmaker's file of choice?
That's a needle file. That's what I use for doing 20 TPI.
Very small one.
We just scale it up or down depending on the size of teeth that we're doing.
And what brand and what cut of file?
So they're Velour, second cut, precision. These are general saw files.
And so you're cutting just perpendicular to the saw?
Yeah.
Just straight across?
I'm filing this one as a rip pattern.
How long have you been making saws for?
I have been making saws for about 30 years.
Hence why you just sharpened a saw blade in like a minute and a half.
Yeah. I'm just going to take all the rough edges off now. And then we're ready for assembly.
A 120 grit?
120, yeah. Just a little bit worn out, 120.
Nice.
I don't want it too aggressive.
I think that's a buffer retrofitted to be a linear.
There's a buffer on that end.
Yeah.
No, that's a standard.
Is that a standard modification?
That's a standard thing, yeah. So normally, most people would have the idler wheel sort of mounted up here somewhere.
Got it.
And they sort of work underneath it. They work from the underneath, whereas I want to work over the top because I've got long hand saws that I need to take the fash off.
Of course, if you're working underneath, you're going to be hitting the
Yeah.
floor.
So I work over the top like that. Hence, I have my extractor fan there as well. So I just need to put the etch on these, on the corner of these.
Am I right in saying you're using Lego sets as your fixturing for your laser etching?
Correct, yes.
How did you stumble upon this incredible idea?
I believe we copied it from somebody else we'd seen doing a similar.
And
but
so
there's nothing more accurate than Lego, is there?
it's great. I mean, the injection molding machine isn't moving around when they make it.
No.
And so you're etching on the teeth per inch, and are you putting a logo on there as well?
On these ones, no. We put the logo onto the brass back on this one. Yeah, there we go.
So what are we getting brass out for?
So this is how the brass back is made. Starts off as a piece of flat. First we cut it to length, fold it, and then flatten it together. This is what gives the blade its tension. It also provides weight to help assist the cut.
And it also looks very nice.
It does look very nice.
Yeah, it does.
A touch of gold on it. I know, I didn't know how to describe the colour in a way that wasn't repeating the word brass unnecessarily, you know? I was stuck. So typically you're shearing these to length in a machine that's just bigger than this,
yes,
but is effectively identical.
Correct.
Identical setup.
Yeah.
God, there's just an incredible scrap collection here. Thank you.
Right, so it sets off flat, and then it's folded into the U shape.
And will this press do all of the models of brass back? Like this is strong enough to do all of them?
Correct, yes.
And
yeah.
what's the rating on this?
This is about a 40 ton rating on this.
These are the dies.
And that slots in there like that.
So this is the effectively the top die is kind of like a blade.
Yep.
It pushes the brass down, and it is then fed through those rollers as it's formed. Boom.
So the blank's already in. The blade will come down, and it's going to fire out the bottom.
Sick. Is this a bigger press?
This is a bigger press, yeah. 50 to 60 tons, I'm guessing. Just a pair of flattening tools. Literally take it from a U shape into its flat. Yeah.
And so they're touching. So in order to get the blade in, there's a little bit of spring tension there?
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
That's what holds it.
And then you go to the mill?
It gets milled, yes. Just make sure it's nice and tight.
Beautiful, simple, heavy-duty fixture. I love it. Did you make this fixture in-house?
Yeah.
Love it. So you mill both sides.
Yep.
Beautiful surface finish on it. And you put that puts a little chamfer on it.
Yep. So what I need to do is I just take that sharp edge off on the linishing belt.
Are you telling me you can hammer on a sawtooth that's been sharpened to set it in there and it's completely fine?
Yeah, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
That's why I use a wooden bat though.
But that tells me something about the strength of those saw teeth.
Yeah.
Things I wouldn't expect. That's phenomenal. There's no glue, nothing. It is the tension of that brass piece
Correct.
that is holding it on the blade.
This is the traditional way of doing it.
Incredible. That will stay stuck on there forever. So now that you've got this, it doesn't necessarily end up perfectly straight after all this work.
No, there are straightening processes involved, but from there, basically, it goes to finishing now. So we linish the sides. It will then be scotch brighted to give it a smoother but satin finish, and then it goes to a handle assembly.
So you're about to mark it with a roll mark?
Roll mark, yeah, that's correct. It's going to be a little difficult for you to see, but I'll go and do that, and then you can see a before and after shot of that.
So is Pax a brand of saw Thomas Flynn Company acquired?
We did, yes.
And Pax has been in existence since 1776?
That is correct, yes.
It's just purely coincidental?
That it's the year of independence.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
Right, we've now got to go into the wood shop to get a grip of things, to really get a handle on the matter. So all your handles are made in-house as well?
Correct, yes. So everything comes in plank form like this, then gets cut into blocks like here, loaded onto the CNCs. The blanks come out
Nice.
like that.
So that's off the router.
Yep,
Obviously looks beautiful, but surface finish can be improved.
can be refined, yes. Just put the extractor fan on.
What grit is this?
That's a 120 grit.
And will you go up from there, or 120 is all you need?
120 is good, but we do a brushing process also.
I've never seen a wheel like that. Oh, that is such an interesting wheel. It's little abrasive strips and then brush
to support it, just to give it a little bit of strength.
How do the slots get cut in?
Oh, the slots routed. So we've got a router cutter over here. So the saw is mounted onto there, and then it plunges in. So that plunges like that.
And that makes the big slot.
And that makes that slot, yeah.
For the brass.
Yep.
And then how about the thin slot for the blade?
The slot is then done on this saw here. So we've got a jig, there's a saw blade in there.
Oh, look underneath, Jamie, look there. Super thin saw blade.
Locate that in, and it slides across and puts the saw slot in.
Beautiful. And then it goes on to lacquering.
Yep, that's right.
Before it can be assembled together.
Slot the handle on, make sure it's up to the back. Just needs sawing very slightly.
It's very convenient that you have a saw on hand. Is that actually what you'll do in production?
Yeah.
That's so funny. The first cut of the saw is on itself.
And then we just drill holes in, drop the fittings in, and
there's finito. Look at that. Final coat of oil on the blade.
Yeah, a little coat of oil just to clean it. So we'll just pop a blade guard on that, and this is ready for packing now.
It has been an absolute treat seeing how they make this. I love seeing craftsmanship, and I love seeing great manufacturing. Please, guys, go check them out. The links to Thomas Flynn Company are down below in the description. And of course, we love hearing your suggestions in the comments about which factories and workshops you'd like us to see in the future. And finally, big thanks are owed to today's sponsor, Saley. Please click the link in the description below. Supporting our sponsors helps us make these videos. See you all next time. Bye-bye.